Dreams of Kenshi 2. So much dreams. I don't want to be just repetitive, so certain things that have already been confirmed, like more functionality and depth, object placement, building, city planning, we're not getting into that. And of course, we want and are pretty sure we're getting, with Unreal Engine 4, some more pretty stuff. That's not what we're here to talk about today. Let's get into what improvements from Kenshi we can dream of being in Kenshi 2. And if I missed something that you think is just necessary for Kenshi 2 to be the hornet's elbows, make sure you leave that in the comments. But after putting some thought into it, here are some things that I think would make Kenshi 2 that much more amazing. More functioning patrols. Okay, this is something that I always felt should be in Kenshi. Yes, there are assignable, repeatable jobs. And that works great for gathering and refining resources. And I always felt like it should work in a similar way for the characters that you assign to protect those workers. But any of the jobs available just don't seem to work well, or sometimes at all. I'm looking at you, rescue and put in bed. Now, the more complexity, the more functionality we can get in this, the better. If we have options like setting certain destination points, certain patrol points as places that the character should wait at for a set amount of time, certain points of health depletion where they should abandon the patrol to heal, or the amount of characters total that should be assigned to that patrol being options would just be fantastic. Now, those potential limits and functionality of how many soldiers should be doing X, Y, or Z got me thinking about manpower existing in some way, shape, or form in Kenshi 2. Now, I think it would just make sense with how the world interacts with itself if, when you take out a large number of enemies from a certain faction, that faction should have fewer soldiers overall. Perhaps they would lower their recruitment standards, or they would be putting more men out earlier on in their training, and so they would have less capable soldiers for a while. Of course, it would make sense if eventually they reach some equilibrium, but it would feel good in the game if your actions had noticeable reactions from the world in a short period of time. Granted, that would be very difficult to balance, so I don't know how it could be implemented. I just thought it would be a really fun idea and something that you would notice through your play. And of course, that would work well with more functionality of interacting with factions, hurting them, or helping them. Speaking of factions, granulating it more, having gangs and rivalries within singular towns or cities, more small factions that you could help uplift or hurt would be really fun. Personally, I love the idea of being able to spend a whole playthrough in just a single city. But overall, more meaningful interactions with factions, maybe even effectively joining some of them, would be awesome. But more than that, built-in progressions and failings of different factions would be a really cool feature. And potentially, different iterations of this would make for a very deep and a very replayable experience. For instance, were you to help restore the Order of the Second Empire with a group of mostly skeletons, I would suspect it would play out much differently than if your squad were primarily organic due to the downfall of Catelyn's mind. Another, I think, sensible, easy add to Kenshi 2 that would really make sense in the world would be more contracted jobs. Personally, I thought bounties were an awesome system in Kenshi, a really fun thing to find in a town and use the information from that bounty to go and hunt down that character, bring them in, make some money. But adding a variety of contracted jobs would also be really cool. Some as simple as being a mercenary squad, or just an assassin for hire. I think that's an easy ask and a sensible extension of the bounty system in Kenshi. But also maybe some lower tier contracted jobs, such as being a contracted laborer on a farm or mine, where your character doesn't get any resources for the time and labor they put in, but gets a small amount of pay. One thing I think would be cool, but maybe is more controversial to add to Kenshi 2 would be character aging. I think that this, if implemented, should definitely be a toggleable option. It doesn't have to be fast, but I think that after 100 hours or so of gameplay, your organic character should start to have their abilities degrade. This would give a huge relative buff to skeletons, but would also create a cool dynamic of building up your younger characters to slowly trade off tasks as they become the more competent characters. Lastly, Beep 2. No explanation required. In fact, I think Kenshi 2 would be best served by including our favorite BP boy canonically as the same individual with the same character and offering zero lore explanation as to why this organic life form that has been assumed to be very much mortal exists 1,000 years prior to his first introduction. Just do it and move on. past these things, I find it hard to ask for more or even come up with more that could be asked for. Kenshi is such a massive game when it comes down to it, having a scope of gameplay that we just haven't seen in any other game. So honestly, if this new iteration is just more optimized, pretty, and stable, I think it will be regarded as a huge win. But perhaps a few of these wishlist items being included in development could help push it over the edge to becoming a household name that Kenshi just deserves to be. Now, since we mentioned Beep 2, I bet you find yourself thinking, why do I love Beep so much? Well, good news for you. I made a whole video essay on that exact topic. Here it is on the screen, click on it.